My name is Patrick VanBeveren. I am a physical therapist. There's not a lot to know about the letters after my name, other than there are a lot. I was just telling this woman here that in our association, I have one woman, when she writes to me, she writes, Patrick VanBeveren, E-I-E-I-O. So she's clearly not impressed, so you don't need to be impressed with those either. But, being a physical therapist, obviously I come across a lot of people and have for a lot of years. And the one thing that people seem to want to do is to be able to do for themselves. And I think that is part of aging. What we fear is losing independence. And God forbid that you would actually end up at St. Camillus. I usually ask for volunteers to sign up to come in because we need job security over there, but I won't ask you folks. But St. Camillus is a beautiful place, but I really don't recommend it for living there. But it does get to kind of the basis of my talk. And why do some people end up in a nursing home? They have a fall. But even there's people who fall don't end up there, right? Yeah, no one to care for them, which means they can't care for themselves. And why can't they care for themselves? Lost their independence. Why did they lose their independence? Who? Lost strength, yeah. So she read the title of the talk. Yeah. And a lot of it comes down to, it is mobility, disability. When you cannot get up out of a chair, when you can't get up out of your bed, when you can't get up off the toilet anymore, you need somebody to help care for you. So if you don't want to go into a nursing home, what do you need to do? Maintain leg strength. Isn't that simple? We do fear it and probably know that there is some solution, but do we ever dig down far enough to really think about why we might end up there? Here, this is just the teacher in me having objectives, but we're going to talk about exercise, and I would like to talk about what you want to hear about. Exercise is pretty interesting. It is, without a doubt, the most powerful intervention that there is in medicine. Far and away. The next 3 or 4 pages talk about the benefits of exercise. So, it makes your heart stronger, makes your bones stronger, it makes the endocrine system work better, gives you better respiration, maintains muscle strength. It prevents cancer. It prevents dementia. Tell me a pill. Tell me a vitamin. Tell me a surgery that does all of that. It's remarkable intervention. It is the strongest intervention. Unfortunately, it's probably one of the least used interventions in medicine. Right now out there, probably about 1/4 of people are exercising at an intensity enough to be beneficial to them. 1/4. 75% are probably not. And I suspect I'm preaching to the choir here. Some people would argue, you guys have been listening to the debates and how healthcare is going to be saved. Each of the candidates will save healthcare, save the Medicare system. There are some people that would argue we do not have a healthcare crisis. We have a fitness crisis. Much of the care that we give is not for the disease itself. It's for the mobility disability associated with that disease. And now we're looking at obesity rates, people being overweight or obese. It's 2/3 of the population. It's remarkable. And how many pathologies are related to obesity? A lot of them. If you are overweight, you are more prone to cancer. If you are overweight, you are more prone to osteoarthritis. And the list goes on. And, you know, again, one of the things that prevents weight gain is exercise. Now, all exercise is not exactly created equal, and we'll talk about that today. And I have a huge bias towards strengthening exercise. Essentially, you have stretching exercise, cardiovascular exercise, and strengthening exercise. Cardiovascular exercise, extremely popular in the early 70s, you know, because we saw this dramatic increase in cardiovascular disease. Cardiovascular exercise, aerobic exercise, the same thing, relates to quantity of life. So aerobic exercise relates to quantity, how long you're going to live. All right? It keeps your heart and your lungs strong, and it maintains the circulatory system. All right? Strengthening exercises relates to quality of life. It directly relates to function. So we can see people in the nursing home with a pretty good cardiovascular system, but with mobility disability because they don't have the strength. So my bias is I want to be here and I want to have a high quality of life. So my bias is way towards strengthening exercises. Benefits. I'm gonna go through these. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, anybody can have these. These are what we call in education as, these are throwaways. Who else? We'll put some. Let me put some in the back here. Another one. Yeah. Oh my goodness. You guys didn't come up and do the table. Do you need pens too? Let me move these in the back here. Yeah, I'll get you one. I think there's probably everybody in the class who can kind of go through the list of benefits of exercise. You know, and some of them I already talked about. Prevents early mortality, prevents early morbidity, improves cardiovascular system, whether it's before or after the first heart attack. It decreases total blood cholesterol and raises up the HDLs, the good cholesterol. Maintains cognitive health. How many people fear getting dementia? You know, it's the one positive thing that you can do for yourself. And again, if we talk about anti-aging, I mean, that is a huge fear of people. And the information in the literature, it's replete and it's repetitive, that exercising, and this is one of the things that aerobic exercise seems to be better at compared to strengthening. It does seem to be a vascular phenomenon. So it does help prevent dementia, lower blood pressure, reduce your risk of developing it, increases the quantity of life. So this is aerobic. Quantity of life, it allows you to live longer. Reduces depression, promotes psychological well-being, controls weight, helps prevent cancer. And you know, the literature now is really going beyond colon cancer also. Really talking about other types of cancer where the incidence is much lower. And many of the researchers are relating it to the amount of fat that we have in our body increases the risk of cancers. This is a strengthening. So strengthening clearly improves balance, reduces the risk of developing diabetes because it decreases the amount of fat and decreases the resistance to insulin. Helps maintain healthy bones, muscles, joint cartilage. How many people worry about knee pain, hip pain, joint pain? Well, strong muscles prevent joint pain. Strong muscles prevent joint pain. Everything in life is absorption and dissipation of forces. Did you know that? You learned it in high school physics. Every action has an opposite and equal reaction. So as you sit there in your chair, you're pushing down on the chair with a certain amount of force, your body weight. The chair is pushing back up into you with the same amount of force. some tissue in your body has to absorb that force and dissipate it, get rid of it. If the tissue can, no problem. If the tissue can't, you have to do something. So you change how you're sitting there. Make the force go to a different tissue. All right? Or in some people, you know, in particularly people who are having a bulging disc, where the force is transmitted to the disc, that disc bulges a little more, becomes a little more irritable. And that person actually has to stand up and walk around. So everything in life is absorption, dissipation of forces. So if you have strong muscles, the muscles are able to dissipate some of that force that is applied to the body, so that the force doesn't go through the joint surfaces. And the estimates are considerable. That there are some authors who feel up to 50% of the force at the knee joint can be dissipated with strong muscles. That's pretty interesting. Help you move better, participate in functional activities, increase reserves. And I'll talk about reserves. Reserves are critical for us. You know, as we get old, we are going to slide down that slippery slope of aging. We are going to get weaker. We are going to lose flexibility. We are going to lose cardiovascular function. But, you know, if you start up here, if you have a lot of strength, a lot of cardiovascular function, and you start to lose it, you're still going to have function way out here, as opposed to not having reserve, starting way low, and then starting to lose it. So as much reserve as you can build within the system, and it's true for bone, it's true for cardiovascular, it's true for muscle strength. Prevents frailty. Frailty is an interesting concept. We think of older adults becoming frail, and that's a natural sequelae of being older. It isn't at all. There really is nothing within the biological system as it ages to cause you to become frail. Frailty comes from inactivity. And again, that's clearly demonstrated in the literature. And again, if we go back to the healthcare system and the cost within the healthcare system, if we delay the onset of frailty by 1 year, which if you look at the average age of entry into a nursing home, and you use that as your definition for frailty, if we prolong that by 1 year, so if the average age of people going to the nursing home is 83, if we raise that to 84, we save $50 billion a year in healthcare costs. That's pretty significant. And again, it gets back to building reserve, maintaining strength, maintaining function. And again, strengthening, it's quality of life. Why do we need to talk about exercise? You know, it's kind of interesting. Ever since World War II, any of you guys actually remember World War II? Really? Ever since then you can verify this. Every technological advance has been to make our life easier. Yeah? I'll bet you remember vacuuming the floor. Right? Well, now you have a Roomba. You just put it on the floor and go to work. It vacuums all day for you. Right. Did you ever beat rugs? Yeah, nobody beats rugs anymore. I don't know. Do you remember this? I don't know. We've got to go way back for this. Do you remember getting up and going to answer the phone because it was attached to the wall? Yeah, right now all I have to do is reach in my pocket and I can answer it. Everything else has remote controls. You know, you don't get up to change the channel. Cranking what? Crank the telephone. So you had to walk to it and then you had to get to crank it to actually use it. You know. Yeah. But you go back and think about that, how much our life has changed. Everything's on wheels now, too. Nobody carries a suitcase anymore. You wheel it, and almost all briefcases are on wheels also. And everything has remote controls. There is a statistic out there that if you took the average person in 1950 and you compared them to today, the person today would have to work out 3 times a week for a full year just to reach the normal of 1950. That is how much our activity has decreased. Electric typewriters. When we went from manual to electric typewriters, nothing else changed in your life, you would put on 10 pounds. Isn't that remarkable? Now, along with that, we have accepted that easy is good. You know, I tell people to do an exercise, it's too hard. What? It's supposed to be hard. You know, we just say if it's too hard, we don't do it. It's too hard to do that. You know? Once you walk a mile, it's too hard to do that. So we don't do it. You know? We have to change that perception in our society. The hard is good. Hard is what's going to create your reserve. It's going to maintain your strength. It's going to give you quality in aging. What else? Technologically, we think about the aging process. We made our life easier. What else has technology contributed to? You think? Yeah, right, now we have computers too. We were talking before, like, we all sit at computers now. You don't go shopping anymore. You just click the mouse a few times, so you don't have to walk into the store. But what about medicine? What's happened in medicine? Technology-wise, medicine any better than 1950? Yeah, some would say no. But yeah, there's been a lot of technological advances. 1950, I think the average life expectancy was around 70. Now it's about 86. I think that's for women. Everybody knows men live less long. We don't have to explore why. But technology's gotten better, and we've developed more sedentary lifestyle. So the net consequence has been we're here longer with all of these years of being non-functional. You know, and who wants to spend that last 10 or 15 years in a nursing home? You know, we don't. But we have inadvertently, I guess, created that. Here's the slippery slope of aging. Here's where we start out. You know, someplace in our 30s and 40s, we're able to participate in fun activities. And I refer to fun as being able to do what you want to do, when you want to do it, for as long as you want to do it. You know, and think about yourself now. Are you still in the fun category? You do whatever it is you want, for as long as you want to do it, whenever you want to do it. You know, if not, you've slipped down that slippery slope already, and you're in the function category. You're saving some of your energy to do the things you have to do. And you may be also picking days of the week. So, you know, if I go shopping on Monday, I'm not going to do anything on Tuesday, and I'll clean the house on Wednesday, and maybe by Saturday I'll do the laundry. You know, you're kind of spreading out where you're going to lose your energy. So you're starting to get a little weaker. You're starting to go down this slippery slope. You're losing vigor. And then, of course, at the low end of function is frailty, and the final category is failure. So what, you know, everybody's goal of successful aging is different. You know, we did talk about men. I think probably their goal of successful aging is live long enough to sit in a chair with a beer and watch a Monday night football until who knows when. But, you know, you have to decide for yourself what successful aging is. For me, successful aging is dying young at a very old age. Okay? So what you want to do, this 100% up here, you're going to lose some, but you want to flatline. You want to keep going right out here. And out here at about 100 years old, you're still up in the fun category. You just have a very short period of morbidity, compressed morbidity, and you die. To me, that is successful aging. Flatlining, staying up there as long as you can. Now, a lot of this does relate to strength. The bad news is, well, there's two pieces of bad news. One, we're losing 1% of our strength per year starting at the age of 30. Oh, shit. Oh, damn. You know, think about that. 1%. That's on average, okay? Average. What if you're real sedentary? 2 or 3%. You're headed down this slippery slope this way. You know? You're not even making 60. And we have people in a nursing home at 60. Yeah. There's no doubt about it. So you're real sedentary, you're losing your strength a lot faster. Now, the upside of that is, what if you're really vigorous about working out? And you really work to maintain your strength. You only lose a quarter of your strength per year. 1/4. So it takes you 4 years to lose what the normal person is losing in 1. And that person, that's the one, they're staying up here, only losing a quarter, all the way out here. 1/4%. Not a quarter of your strength, right? 1/4% of your strength. You want the rest of the bad news? Starting at the age of 30, on average, we are gaining 1 pound per year. Yeah. Your strength is going down, and the load that you have to move around is going up. So, have I convinced you about strengthening it all? So, what do you do? What do you want to do? Oh, do you want to know if you're getting weaker? Not necessarily. Huh? Do you want to know if you're getting weaker right now? Stand up. And sit back down. Now think about how you stand up. Stand up again and sit back down. If you used your hand on the chair to either stand up or sit down, you are getting weaker. Your legs are getting weaker. Now, stand up again. Try to do it without your hands. And sit back down. Now, when you go home tonight, put a chair against the wall so it can't slide away from you. Stand in front of it where you can see a clock, and stand up and sit down as many times as you can in 30 seconds. You should be able to do 20. If you can't do 20 in 30 seconds, stand up and sit down. Your legs are getting weaker. All right? How many times can the person in the nursing home do it? 0. Right, 0. Exactly. Pre-nursing home, people who are just at home and not going out in the community, maybe 2 or 3 times. Not many. Okay? Stand up again. Do another test. Now, hopefully everybody has a chair in front of them. You can use a podium. Hold on to the chair in front of you. And stand on 1 foot. Everybody on 1 foot. And just, take your hand away a little bit. Yeah. Now, you should be able to do this, not holding on for 1 minute. Everybody in this room should be able to. Should be able to stand this way for a full minute without holding on. What are you feeling? What's happening? What are you feeling? Wobbling. At your ankle? Is your ankle wobbling? Yeah. And the more it wobbles, the weaker you are. That's all strength. 60% of balance is ankle strength. All right. You can sit down. So, you can go home and test yourself. Sit the stands, no hands, 30 seconds. You should be able to do 20. Should be able to stand on 1 foot for a full minute. And if you're not, you're already losing lower extremity strength. So what do we do? Well, we got to start increasing activity, right? Got to start doing more. That, the big category up at the top is physical activity. Underneath that is exercise. It's just one part of being more physically active. We need to start to increase our activity level all the time. Be more chronic activity participants. All right? So here's some. Take the stairs instead of the elevators or walk up. I do have a slide that's not in here, but it's LA Fit, LA something, whatever the LA Fitness, and there's a set of stairs going up to it, and there's escalators on both sides. There's like 6 people on each escalator, nobody taking the stairs. They're all going to work out. It's a concept we have about easier being better. Park in the back of the parking lot, take the cart, go all the way to the end, load it, bring the cart all the way back, walk all the way back to your car. I run every morning, but I drive around the parking lot so I can get the closest parking space. Return the card. Stand up and sit down during commercial breaks. Decrease your sitting time. There used to be one in here that said hide the remote, but I think that's way too extreme. You shouldn't start out with something that extreme. So it is, and you know, do the activity that you enjoy the most. You know, if you're a dancer, that's great. You know, and there's opportunities all over Syracuse for that. Gardening, you know, golf, whatever it is. If you find something you enjoy doing, you're going to significantly increase your chance to continue to do it. And if you find somebody to do it with you, you again significantly increase the chance that you're going to continue to do that. All right? That's two good strategies. Should I seek my doctor's permission to exercise? What do you think? How many people's doctor have told them you got to start exercising? Come on. What? They all tell you that. Yeah. If your doctor hasn't told you to start exercising, you got to find another doctor. You know. So do you need his permission? You probably need his permission not to exercise. You go and ask him, is it okay if I don't exercise? Get his permission that way. But you know, for most people starting out, it's not going to create a problem. You know, on TV they always say before starting an exercise program, consult your doctor. He's going to say, yeah, go ahead, do it. You know, I mean, there may be people out there with real unstable cardiac problems. They're not asking the question anyways, can I start? But if you start, you probably are not going to run into any problems. You start low. You don't have to do much. Go slow. But the real key to exercise is sustaining it. You know, and how many times you start out and you're really gung-ho and, you know, after a couple weeks it's too hard to sustain. You start low, you get some positive feedback. I feel better. I'm going up the stairs. My knees aren't hurting. You know, I feel like I have more energy. You get some positive feedback. That helps you to sustain it. You know, you go out really hard starting out. You're sore, and you're going, why am I doing this? This is just killing me. So start low, go slow. Set goals. And that first goal is to become more physically active. You know what I don't even know what the group is. President's Council on Fitness says now. You have 150 minutes of moderate activity a week. Now, moderate activity is you doing something where you would have trouble singing, but you could continue to talk. You know, strenuous activity, you're having trouble finishing a sentence because you got to grab a breath. But if you're doing moderate activity, you're probably not going to be able to sing, but you should be able to carry on a conversation. So 150 minutes of that per week is what the recommended dosage is. Start with 10 minutes every day, gradually build up till you're doing 30 minutes 5 times a week. That's 150 minutes. And start to do some strengthening. And I have some strengthening exercises as examples in the back. You know, and again, the thing about exercise, I mean, any kind of exercise, strengthening exercise, aerobic exercise, stretching exercise, you know, people ask me, you know, what's the best one? The best one's the one you're going to do. You know, there's no magic strengthening exercise. I swear, right now, I could probably give you 25 different abdominal exercises. None's better than the other. All the abdominal exercises, they make your abdomen work. Now, depending on the intensity that you work at, you're going to get the results, and we'll talk about that. But you find that if you do an abdominal exercise you dread doing it every time, find a different abdominal exercise to do. You don't have to stay with that one. Leg exercise, right? You know, I have people, we do community exercise, people, they hate doing these lunge things. Well, don't do the lunge things. Do sit to stand. Do squats. Do dips. Do something different. Do something that you're going to have a chance of sticking with. Here's the long-term goal. The bad news for strengthening, it's got to be intense to work. And the more intense it is, the better the effect. So if you're doing an activity, like you're doing the sit to stand, and you can do between 8 and 12 of those, that's good. That is an exercise stimulus for you. If you could do 50 of them and just keep doing it, it's not going to strengthen you at all. Okay? It's not hard enough. So when you finish a strengthening exercise, so if you do these dips down like this, and you do 10 of them, and I say to you, was that hard? And you go, that was easy. It's not going to strengthen you. You got to use the word hard. If you say, that was a little hard, you're going to get a strengthening effect. If you say, that was really hard, you're going to get a big strengthening effect. It's dose specific. The harder you work, the more you get out of it. So you've got to describe it at least as a little easy, and we'll show that on a slide there. Oh, wait a minute. Let me go back here. Here, the bad news with strengthening, you got to work hard. The good news is you only have to do strengthening twice a week. It's not something you have to do every day. Now, if you do it 3 times a week, you're going to get more out of it, but you're going to get diminishing returns. You work really hard twice a week, you're going to get 80% of what you're going to get from doing the strengthening exercise. You add a 3rd day, you're going to get another 10%. You add a 4th day, you're going to get another 5%. You add a 5th day, another 2.5%. Now, if you're an Olympic athlete, if you are training for something particular, that 3rd day, that 4th day, that 5th day is probably important to you. But if we're talking about fitness, if we're talking about mobility, disability, twice a week. All right. There is an exception to that rule, and for you people who are interested in this balancing, and I said 60% of balance comes from the ankle strength. That's only part of the story. Balance is a little bit like a golf swing. You not only have to have the strength, you have to have motor control. So you have to learn how to use the strength. So you got to create the strength, but then you got to practice balance to get better at balance. All right? And that, the practice part, the more repetitions you do, the more often you do it, the better you get. So you get strengthened twice a week, but using it and practicing motor control 5 times a week. Okay? Recreational physical activities every single day. More physical activity. And, I'll make the case for doing the strengthening first. Because of this, build muscle mass to support the joints, decrease, your chances of getting joint pain, which in turn is going to limit your exercise. So, what your doc always says, I don't pick on the doctor, but you need to exercise. You say to him, "What do I do?" What does he say to you? Go walking. They go walking. And I've had people come to me. I tried to go walking. After a quarter of a mile, my knees were killing me. Well, you got to strengthen first. You got to get in shape to go walking. Make your legs strong, then use them. Okay. It's the same thing. It's any joint. It can be the back pain. It gives that force someplace up to go through the strong muscles. And this builds bones. That is very important for bone strength. Now, you have to have stress on the bone to increase the strength of the bone. So if you're in pools, if you're doing pool exercise, you're not going to make your bone stronger. The bone has to be compressed, pulled on. It's got to be weight-bearing exercise. So if that's your goal, is to build strength because you're concerned about osteoporosis, you got to be out of the pool, you got to be doing gravity exercise, and you got to be pulling hard on the bone. But there's very good evidence that you can increase bone mineral density by doing resistive exercise. Okay? Strengthening requires overload. That's the intensity. You got to stay between that 8 and 12 reps of something that you're doing. If you get up 20, 25 reps, it's too easy. It's not enough overload, not enough intensity to build strength. Okay? So when we do our community exercise, we might do sit-to-stands or squats or heel raises, something like that. But if it's too easy for the person, we use elastic bands. So you can imagine I should bring elastic bands to do this. So this person is starting to do this, and they're starting to get easier doing it. I've got to make it harder. So I give them an elastic band. They step on the elastic band. They hold on the elastic band. And as they go up, they stretch the elastic band. So they have to work harder. Or you have something in your hands. You know, maybe you're going up and down your stairs a lot of times. You feel it's not enough overload. Carry something up in your hands. And you can immediately see that in your own head. You know it's harder to carry something up. Bands, balls, weights. You guys know the stability balls? Those things are unbelievably good. You know, for $20, it's a gym in your house. You know, they are kind of big. You can go with the smaller ones and get the same effect. But they remove stability. So when you do an exercise on one of those balls, you've got to create the stability. And to do that, you use your trunk. So every exercise you do on the ball is a trunk strengthening one, which is very good. And there's, again, on the balls, I mean, there are hundreds of exercises. So you buy a ball, and it comes with the exercises, and you do those, and you get bored, so you go get a ball video. And there's more exercises on that ball video, and then you buy a ball book, and there's like 1,000 of them in that book, and you do the exercises with that. Weights, you know, weights are good, but, you know, the elastic, there's different color elastic, so it's called a durometer, how tough the elastic is to stretch. So you can increase the intensity by using a different color, and you can double it. You can make it shorter. And if you drop it on your foot, you do not fracture your foot. You can put it in your suitcase and take it with you. So I am a big advocate of elastic bands also. Now, there are the heavy elastic bands. They're thicker than cars don't have inner tubes anymore. Who came from 1950? They had them then. Right. Bicycles. Bicycle inner tubes are harder than bicycle inner tubes. They are really tough. So, and obviously machines. You know what the shortcoming of machines are? It doesn't challenge your balance at all. In fact, it doesn't challenge any coordination at all. You know, you go to the gym, you sit in a machine, you just push as hard as you can. You don't have to have balance, you don't have to have coordination. So you're going to get a limited effect. You know, doing body weight and body weight with elastic is much more beneficial for function because it's much more close to function than if you sit in a machine and just push against it. Now, is sitting in a machine pushing against it better than sitting at home watching TV? Yes. But then at some point, if you make that transition to functional activities. Here's the scale. And you've got to be at 13 or above. So you've got to describe that exercise as being somewhat hard. All right? So, you know, the hardest exercise you ever did is 20, and the easiest exercise you ever did is 6. How hard is that exercise? You say 18, you're getting a very good effect from the exercise. We do this in our exercise class also. I hand out little slips of paper. I say, how hard was exercise today? So people, 9, 10. I give them a heavier band. Now what do you think they write? They all write 20. It's the hardest exercise I ever did. Keep your bands. It doesn't take them long to figure it out. All right, balance through strength. Here's where I talked about motor learning. People come to my class, we work on balance. After 3 weeks, they say, my balance is not much better. They've got about 6 hours in class. It takes about 50 hours to learn a motor skill. So that goes for you folks who are learning golf or playing tennis or, you know, a motor. If you want to be good at it, it takes a lot of practice. You know, the people who get good at golf, you know, Tiger Woods, you know why he's so good? Because he can practice. The rest of us get bored after 12 minutes. Say, I'm not doing this anymore. Tiger Woods can hit balls for 6 hours. You know, and that's why he's good. Because that's why he used to be good. Now, I'm not sure what the problem is. But these are balancing exercises. You can see they're all one-footed. So, again, you got to challenge the 1 foot. So I can stand, I used to be able to, I can stand here for a while. So now maybe I need to put my foot in and out this way, or imagine a ball here and roll the ball under my foot. I've got to add challenge to it for it to be beneficial. Because if I just stand here, it's too easy for me. Or maybe I stand on an air bladder. Or maybe I close my eyes. And I close my eyes and then I move my head. And that gets real hard. So when you do it, you also have to progress it. When you get good, you have to move along. So the other thing that I want to emphasize is you've got to be safe when you do these. You know, we're doing them so that you're more mobile and you maintain your function longer. So if you fall down and fracture your hip, we've defeated our purpose. So when you do it at home, you know, you have a chair against the wall, you can do some balancing in front of it, so if you lose your balance, you fall into the chair. Or typically I recommend at the kitchen sink, because if you're losing a chair and you fall backwards and you grab the chair, it's not going to help you a whole lot. But the kitchen sink is pretty stable. Corners are good. Doorways are also good. So if you want to practice balance in a doorway and you get on 1 foot and you lose your balance, you just touch. And you just touch on the other side. If you fall backwards, you can grab it. But be safe first. Challenge yourself second. Lower extremity strength. If you're working hard enough, after 2 or 3 weeks, you should say, geez, you know, I really think I'm getting stronger. And there is some change, but a lot of the change is you learning how to facilitate muscle contraction. You're opening up neural pathways. At about 6 weeks, you have real improvement. So again, exercise, the benefit of exercise, it doesn't come from that short term. It really comes from sustaining the effort. And I'm amazed. You know, my exercise programs for older adults. And early on, my concept was I would bring people in for 12 weeks and teach them how to exercise and then send them off. Well, that was 7 years ago. Some of those people are still in my class. Now, I measure them before and after each class. There was one particular lady where it was an aha moment for me. She came in, she was bordering on frail. And she's walking like this. So it takes her a while. We do 10 meters, so it takes her a while to cover 10 meters. After 2 years, we're testing people, and I look up, and here goes Margaret. Margaret's almost running. I go, what the hell happened to Margaret? But it really was her sustaining that for a long period of time. You know, there's a book out on the market now, Younger Next Year. Has anybody seen that? In Younger Next Year for Women? What is the major thing in those books? Yeah, it's strengthening. It's strengthening exercise, the overload. That is how you get, and clearly it worked for Margaret. She clearly became younger. And here's, you know, just squats. Here's the lunges. And this I don't know, maybe not. Might be lunges on the toes. And there's a squat with the elastic band. You can see how that works the overload. Core strength, I said, anything that you do on one of those stability balls is core strength. Why is core strength important? Because everything else moves off of it. Our legs are attached to our trunk. We got to be strong in our trunk to be able to move our legs effectively. So, you know, the sit-ups are important, but also back extension. And we use these, bird dog ones a lot. You know, lifting the arm up, touching it, reach, touch, reach, touch, reach. Doing it same side, opposite side, but it's all extensor exercise. And then both strength and leg balance, balancing on one. Skaters, we use this one a lot too. You stand on 1 foot and you dip down, come back up. So you're doing strength and balance as you do it. And again, you could step on elastic and stretch it as you go up and down. All right, safety reminders. You know, I'm not advocating stupidity. So just you use common sense with exercise. You know, if it's bothering you, stop doing that one. Do a different exercise. You know, if you're getting too out of breath, maybe you do need to have that checked. But use and people know. People are so reliable. People call me, I don't feel well enough to do it today. I'm going to check with my doc. They know they need to check with doc. But exercise, if you think about how many people exercise on a daily basis in this country and how many incidences there are related to exercise, it's minuscule. Minuscule. We hear about it every once in a while, that somebody died while exercising. Jim Fixx probably being the most famous. After he wrote books on the benefit of running, he went out and ran and died. But the incident is so few, it's not to be believed. Yep. And then soreness. I talked about getting strong to prevent pain, but what about in the meantime? What if you get some soreness? Well, if soreness is in the muscle, that's okay. That's what you're using. If it's in the joint, you got to change up the exercise a little bit. Or have somebody check form. Look at the picture again. Am I doing this the right way? Now, with the exception of, if it's short-lived discomfort's okay. So you do an exercise and your knee hurts a little bit and you finish that exercise and you take 2 steps and it doesn't hurt now, that exercise is the stimulus for that tissue to become tougher. And I always use the analogy of the blister and callus. Now, if this hurts me a little bit and I just keep doing it, I might run into a blister. I might make the joint irritable. But if I do this today and it bothers me a little bit, and 2 days later I do it again and it bothers me a little bit, over time that tissue will toughen itself just like callus. So you no longer get blister, you get callus. You toughen the tissue. All right? But if the pain persists or the pain's kind of intense, you're going to know, I shouldn't be doing it this way. Switch to a different exercise. Okay? Joint pain, joint pain, joint pain. Muscle pain is okay. If you're working hard, you're going to have, you finish working out, you're going to feel pretty good. The next morning, you're going to get up and go, oh my God, what did I do? You go to get out of bed, you're stiff. That's normal. And the second day. But after the second day, you should get up. You should not have any discomfort. And the pain you get the next morning when you get up, 5 steps to the bathroom, and it's gone. It's called DOMS, delayed onset of muscle soreness, this one right here. Okay? Questions about pain? Pardon? I'm sorry, hyper what? Oh, fibromyalgia? Yeah, now, what's good for fibromyalgia? Healthy lifestyle, right? You get plenty of exercise, plenty of rest, you eat well. So, yeah, you got to find the exercise you can do and stick with it. If it's swimming, swimming. Biking, biking. But it's good. Exercise is good for you. Real benefits come from longevity. It improves your self-efficacy. And if you're talking about aging well, this seems to be the trait about older adults who age well that stands out. So you take an older adult who age well, you start to test them on self-efficacy. They usually have very high self-efficacy, which means they feel they have some control over their life. Their self-efficacy. They can do something about what they have. And those older adults who do the best, they exhibit that trait. That trait in resiliency, overcoming adversity. They feel like they can do it. So there's a psychological component. At the opposite end of the scale are victims. They have no control. This is for me. They age well. And that's done in studies of people who age well, who don't age well. And it seems to be exercise seems to improve self-efficacy. Yeah, don't get discouraged. Don't. I had a lady today. She's I don't know. It's got to be 6 months. She's not exercising. She's going to California. And she has back pain. She has to do the exercise for back pain. And she said to me today, the day I fly out, I'm going to be in the plane like 6 hours. Would it be okay if I miss my exercises? Yeah, take a day off. happens to be my aunt, yeah. So if you miss a day, it is no big deal. If you miss 3 or 4 days, recommit. And commitment also, here, make a commitment to somebody that matters, spouse, friend, or something like that. I really want to do this. I really want to exercise and get stronger so I can get up out of the chair without using my hands. So at some point, you're accountable. That person's going to say, well, can you get up out of the chair yet without using your hands? Commit to somebody. So you know the consequence for not doing it. It helps motivate you. So here were the objectives. Since this really is not for credit courses, I really don't care. So we can move right on to questions.